It's so good. It was just, I'm teasing out to everybody as you're coming on live with us on Facebook, and I just started recording. I'm going to talk about a book that's going to be my lightning round today that Gabe and I are talking about. So Gabe, you can give us some little background when we talk about it. Because it was one of those books that I was just sort of like, because my stack was like okay, here's the other thing. And I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. August never used to be a big release month, and now it's becoming like October. And so my stack for Rex for August was like exploding. And I was like, okay, I'll just give this one 5 pages and say, read all week. I couldn't put it down. It's just like, I had to know what the heck was going on, and woo, really good. And I don't want to use the cliches that people are going to do with it. You know what I mean? Because I think that could potentially turn on or off. Yeah, that's it.
It's very, she's a really good writer. She's a really good storyteller.
Oh, really good storyteller. And what I liked about it was complex, it was just like, it was not just this, it was just like, so she kind of throws you in some things and you have to really pay attention, but it's a page turner paying attention. But anyways.
You don't want to turn away for too long.
No.
And there's a lot going on.
Because you'll lose a thread. It's just like, wait a minute, who was that? What? Wait. Yeah, no.
Yeah, really not in a bad way.
Not in a bad way at all.
No,
it's where it makes you, it's a thinking person's kind of.
Yeah, because you think it's a breezy kind of a read, and Jillian doesn't do that. Her book Hunger Point was her first novel.
Okay.
And you got to go back and read that. She's just, it was brilliant. It got great reviews.
Really good.
And then it's luck of the draw. It's who reviews your books, who on whose desk do you land.
Oh yeah, there's so much to it.
Jillian's written some really terrific books, and we're hoping this one gets a break because it's really good.
It is really good. Okay, Amanda Q, you're going to talk about some books today too. Okay, so we're going to start with you, and then we're going to go to Amanda B, and then Gabe, and then me. So we'll start with you, Amanda.
Okay.
We'll go Amanda. You guys won't know who I'm talking to. Amanda.
Okay. Oh no. Oh, it's right in my lap. Okay. Recently, a really good friend of mine who is from the Bronx insisted that I come over to his house because his daughter had sent him a delivery from Katz's Deli in New York. And he had bagels and Novalox and whitefish spread and chopped liver spread. And I quite literally cried because it was all so good. The bagels were so good. The best bagels I've ever had. So this is all to lead up to this book, Bagel, Schmears, and a Piece of Fish by Cathy Barrow. Nice piece of fish.
Like it.
My roommate is very industrious and a baker and made bagels out of this book today, and they were delicious.
Like the bagel or just putting a sandwich together?
She made an everything bagel like this one on a New York bagel. Yep.
Like the boil and then bake? Wow.
Delicious.
I'm a huge fan of bagels. I pretty much have a bagel every single morning of every day. If I can.
And she said it was surprisingly easy. And so the subtitle is A Whole Brunch of Recipes to Make at Home. So this book brings bagels to the home.
Don't hold it against them for that then.
Really good book.
I love puns. This brings bagels to the home baker and has step-by-step recipes for making classic New York bagels, even in the smallest of kitchens. And it's not about the water, she says, which I've heard
is a thing.
Lot. Yeah, apparently that is not a thing.
Really?
It's just simple ingredients, straightforward techniques. This is great for people who have been baking through the pandemic and are looking for their next project. So highly recommend. It also has it's got a bunch of fish recipes for curing your own salmon, for example, a bunch of spreads,
Schmears,
walnut raisin cheese, carrot cake cheese, cannoli cheese, dried apricot, coconut, and thyme cheese. It's a very beautiful book, but also very approachable. And having eaten bagels from this book today, I can highly recommend this book.
I love it. I really do love that. I mean, because don't you have to boil them and then you bake them or something like
Yeah,
that?
the whole
It's a
thing, man.
process.
20 steps.
Yeah.
But it was surprisingly easy. Like, it took a while. Like, she prepared the dough last night and had to let it, rise
And do its thing. Yeah.
But she said, like, once she got everything together, it was just all in the mixing bowl, in the one mixing bowl.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna have to get my bagel place closed down, like, what was it, 3 years ago, which was a devastating blow to me because they knew me so well that even when my father would go get my breakfast, they'd be like, "Oh, Amanda's order? Got it." He has no idea what I order still, probably.
Oh.
Okay.
Don't need to.
Don't need to. Go to
They
the
got
bagel club. All right, Amanda B, what's your first pick?
All right, so I'm up. So yay, I'm super, super duper excited to share with you today. This is out tomorrow. So David Sedaris, Happy Go Lucky. I mean, what do I need to say about David Sedaris that you don't already know about him? I mean, come on, he's fabulous. He's great. He's hitting the road in person for this one, which will be kind of fun to see. I'm going to go to one of the events that he's going to be doing in person up here in the LA area. But this one is a collection of essays that are about him, and they take him through the pandemic. And so what it's like to, be in, a foreign country in the midst of the pandemic with masks and COVID. It'll talk about the last few years of his father's life and, kind of how he felt about that. The one thing I will say about David's books is you will definitely feel all of the feels. You're going to laugh, you're going to cry. You're just going to go through a roller coaster ride of emotions when you read the book. Please don't, I hate to say it, but the cover does creep me out because it's a clown, but please don't hold that against this book. I know I shouldn't say that, but
I think here's the thing with people. I think people, instead of buy the book, but listen to it on audio because David usually reads them, and there's nothing better than being read to by David Sedaris. There truly isn't.
Fabulous.
Then you don't have to look at the cover.
Yeah, then you don't have to.
But look at that.
Just take the dust jacket off. Just take it off, and then
look
you'll
at that dog's face, though. I think that's the real kicker on the cover. Is the dog is just oblivious
to what's going on.
The little girl's just like, whatever.
I'm just here. Here I am.
It is a little bit of a creeper on the clown, though. He's a creepy clown.
I know. But aside from all that, if you know David Sedaris, you know his books. If you don't, if you've never picked up a David Sedaris book, you need to.
Yeah.
He is definitely a must read. There will be a giant stack of these at Warwick's tomorrow.
Yep.
So there you go. Happy go.
And he's actually going to be in San Diego on Sunday because he was supposed to be here the end of this month, like a couple weeks ago, and something happened. Do you want to take the screen share off? Something happened a couple weeks ago, and so they had to reschedule. So he's actually coming back on Sunday. So I don't know if it's down at the Balboa Theater. So I don't know if there's extra tickets or not, but he is always a treat, and we always have. I'm so glad that Art Power still uses us when they do it down there because I love supporting him and hearing him talk.
He is a huge proponent of independent bookstores as well.
Very much so. Yeah. No, he's awesome.
I remember last time we sold books at an event of his, the first thing he did when he walked into the lobby was came right over to our table and thanked us for being there.
Yeah. No, he's awesome.
Thank you, booksellers. Yeah.
Love him.
Yeah. I've seen him on the road and call ahead and say, these are the books I'm talking about.
Yep.
When I'm on the road, and maybe and people buy them. Other authors, people that.
No, he's a supporter of other authors. Yeah, I love David. Yeah, David is everything that you want him to be.
And that cover is magnificent. I got a clown thing too, but that cover, and I got a serious clown thing. I got a clown story I'll tell you one day. But it's legit, and that's a great cover. It's
gonna definitely get people's attention. There's no question about that.
It was a conversation piece, to say the least, in most of my appointments.
Right.
For sure.
It's gonna get attention on the table. It's just like there's something to say about that.
Exactly. So now I'm playing us out with the music, and we're on to the next thing, which is Jonas Jonasson,
Is that a 3D cover?
It's not, but it's cool looking, right? Because
it looks like it's right now. My eyes are like, it's looking 3D to me.
I guess it is a holiday. It is day drinking is allowed. So this is a Jonas Jonasson, who wrote a book called The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared the 10-12 years ago, which was a huge international bestseller. Has continued to write these really quirky, funny novels, fun novels. And this is his latest. So this is our Harper imprint Via, which brings us literature from around the globe. And if you're a flat earther, from across the world. We all four corners of it. And it is, he's always fun. And in this particular book, we begin with a man called Victor and something or other, and he abandons his son, who he had with one of his sex workers. He had a son, and then he takes the kid back to Africa and dumps him off when he's pretty much almost full grown. The young boy Kevin is adopted by a man named Ole Mavitian, and he's taught the ways of the Maasai. And just in time for his circumcision as an adult, our boy says, Kevin says, I'm out. So he heads to Sweden, because that's where the other half of him is from. And he immediately meets this woman, Jenny, who happens to be his father, Victor's ex, who he has swindled out of some money and art. And next thing you know, these two are approaching a man who runs a company about intent on revenge, and that's the business, and their intent on revenge. And it is, it's like one of these movies. Funny thing happened on the way to the forum. If it's Tuesday, this must be Belgium. It was so cinematic in my mind. I was just like literally just watching the film reel in my head. Madcap comedy, fun characters. I mean, Africa to Sweden, abandoned kids, circumcision, avoidance, hilarity ensues. So it's the kind of book that you just pick up and you want to just enjoy and laugh with, and it'll get you there. It's a lot of fun.
I love it. It's a good book for the holidays.
Good book for the holidays. It's a good summertime book.
Yeah. Is it out tomorrow or is it already out?
Out tomorrow.
Okay. All right. I know this guy doesn't need any help, but I got to do an interview with him, and it was a really good interview. And John Grisham doesn't need anybody to sell his books because John Grisham is John Grisham. But this was really good. And this is a collection of novellas. So if you haven't read John in a while, it might be a great one to pick up again. 3 stories. First one, he brings back Jake Brigance from Time for Mercy, A Time to Kill. So Jake Brigance is back. Second one is a book called Strawberry Moon, which he tells this great story in the interview where his friend Scott Turow told him to do this thing in Italy where you sit in front of 5,000 people with the forum behind you and you read a short story. There's a theme every year, and the year he did it was the moon, and you read this story in front of 5,000 people, Italians, and it's translated. You read it in English, it's translated into Italian. He said it sounds amazing to do that. But Strawberry Moon's about a convicted person that's on death row, and it's his last 3 hours of before he's executed, and he hasn't seen the moon in 15 years. And so all he wants to do is see the moon. So you go with him through this process of the last 3 hours and going on. It is an incredible story. And then the last one's called Sparring Partners, which is probably John Grisham at the funniest I've ever read him. It's about 2 brothers. It's about a law firm. That's the father, 2 brothers. A character that reminds me of Jerry from Succession is in it. Literally laughed out loud reading some of the stuff in the last story, Sparring Partners. So there's 3 different kinds of novellas. They're very satisfying. He's just a great storyteller. So this is out tomorrow, Sparring Partners. And if you want to watch the interview, it's on YouTube, if you care to. it was kind of fun. Kind of fun talking to John Grisham. So that's Sparring Partners, out tomorrow. All right, Amanda.
All right. My next book is another cookbook. And I'm totally cognizant of this being only potentially appealing to a very slim Venn diagram of cookbook buyers. But I happen to be one of these people, so you're going to hear about this book. I first encountered this author of cookbooks when I worked at the UC San Diego bookstore. When I saw, the first books I saw from him are cookbooks called Comfort Eating with Nick Cave and Defensive Eating with Morrissey. And they are both hilarious and very aesthetically pleasing vegan cookbooks. And then later on, I realized Joshua Ploeg, this author, he's also a sometimes San Diegan. And I went to a themed May Day dinner he put on at his home. And he played music and he was wearing weird costumes and he served this amazing multi-course vegan meal and he made us dance around a maypole in his backyard and it was awesome. So this guy's a character. I love supporting his books and now he's back with 2 new books from Microcosm Publishing. And the main one I want to talk about is Enter Sandwich, some kind of vegan cooking with no connection to Metallica. And these books are cute and small and only $15 and fully color illustrated. And so if you know someone who likes Metallica and is also a vegan, and you'd be surprised how many vegan like metal people there are, this is a great gift idea for them. And yeah, it's all sandwich recipes and side dishes and just the titles of the recipes all referred as Metallica songs and it's just wild. It's wild. He also simultaneously released Hey Ho, Let's Dough, 1, 2, 3, 40 vegan pizza recipes unrelated to the Ramones. So
these subtitles today, Amanda, they're kind of even the first one, they're kind of getting me a little bit.
They're very punny. We're very punny.
Exactly. Exactly. We need the drum roll.
Joshua Ploeg, vegan cook extraordinaire. These are fantastic.
So wait a minute. So you know him?
Yeah.
Is he okay? He's the one that you went and danced around a maple.
He's not the illustrator. He wrote the recipes.
Right.
But yeah.
He's the one that you danced around the maypole with?
Okay. It was like you paid a certain amount for admission to this event, and it was the whole like I don't even remember how many course meal with drinks, and he played music, and I love it. It was wild. He is quite the Renaissance man, and his cookbooks are super fun.
I love it. I love that we're highlighting him. That's awesome.
Very fun.
All right, Amanda B, what you got for us? Take yourself off mute.
Ironic. I think she did that on purpose because the book is called Noise.
Ruined my slideshow presentation. There. Woo! I did it. Woo! Noise. Okay. So this book is out in paperback tomorrow. And so I really, really wanted to highlight it because it did so well in the hardcover format. So this is Noise, A Flaw in Human Judgment. So this book is an exploration of why people make bad judgments and the effect that cognitive biases have on all of our lives. So this book is going to be perfect for fans of Malcolm Gladwell, Daniel Pink, Michael Lewis. So I have a lovely little quote here from the Washington Post. Well-researched, convincing and practical, every academic, policymaker, leader, and consultant ought to read this book. So this is a book, we all make these judgments and every day or decisions every day of our lives. And a lot of times we do have these biases that we aren't aware about. So I think this is a really important book to read so we can figure out our biases and how we can stop making these decisions and hopefully make some good ones. So there you go, Noise.
Sounds good.
And that's from the author of Thinking Fast and Slow, which I don't even know how many we've sold at Warwick's.
Oh,
I think,
okay.
yeah, I think when it came out in hardcover, I think a lot of people missed it just because of all the noise happening these last couple of years.
Right.
So I like the new cover. It's very different from the hardcover.
Because I think the Think Fast, I'm picturing that cover in my head. I think I can picture that one. No, we have
It's got
sold
the
one of
pen.
that one.
It's got the pencil on it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right, Gabe, what do you got for us?
I have more good stuff.
Oh, more good stuff.
The Change by Kristen Miller. And this was a Good Morning America book club pick. It's been out a couple of weeks. I've just had a lot of books lately, and we had the book club pick, so it hasn't really needed any help. But you know what? It's a really good book, and not everybody watches Good Morning America. And I think a good book needs to get as much attention as possible. Getting eyeballs on books. Speaking of noise in our industry, it's very noisy all the time. I don't know, 60, 70,000 books a year published, hundreds of books a week, hidden bookstores at any given Tuesday. So this is, I think, a really well-written novel that explores the power of change and the power of solidarity, and it is refers to three women getting on in years. The first is 40-something Nessa, early 40s. She's just her career, her husband passes away. She's left on her own, and her twin daughters go off to school, and she's left to figure out her life. And so she's left alone in this big old house, and starts hearing voices that only she can hear. And then we move on to the next character, Harriet Osborne. She's on the cusp of 50, advertising director, just witnessed her career implode. Her whole life, which is her job, has turned upside down. So her life is all topsy-turvy. But she realizes that her life is far from over. She's got a lot to do. And she's actually recognizes she's undergone a transformation of some sort. And then the third woman in the book, Jo Levinson, spent 30 years fighting the war with her body, rage. She's in the throes of the life change and menopause, and can't physically, she's at her wit's end. After she's had a pretty tough life, and then she hits this menopause thing, and she kind of feels like it's the last straw. And then realizes that she's got through this change. She realizes that she has the ability to work beyond this and get to a better place. But set up, and real quickly, what the book is really about is about these women, these three women, based on the voices that only Nessa can hear, are led to a body in the lake that's been murdered, a young woman who's been murdered and tossed into the lake. And that's the beginning of her being told more and more about more killings and more killings of women. So it's not an attack on the patriarchy, but it is a look at the patriarchy as it exists in most of America, and all of America, and all the world probably still, and what women have to go through and what women suffer, and just how quickly you're just written off, and the significance of the individual is discarded, which is something that happens to women. They get lost in the medical world. There's just a lot of things that continue, and I like witnessing stuff. I've been in the hospital with my wife, seeing how they treat women, and when the doctor turns to me and asks me, "What do you think?" I'm like,
I'm not feeling it, bro. Is she being hysterical?
Yeah,
I'm not feeling hysterical?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Amanda, are you putting the books in the comment section? Because I'm not seeing my comments on Facebook. So I don't know if anybody's talking to us or not, because it looks like my comments have At least the one that I'm watching on Facebook is just kind of frozen. So you guys are still live, but the comments aren't coming through. So I don't know what's going on.
I've been putting them in there.
Yeah.
Should I go grab my book about Mercury retrograde?
Yeah, right. Ugh.
You're blaming everything on Mercury.
Mercury's in retrograde.
Of
All right.
course I do.
I'm just going to brag all day about interviews that I've done. So that's what I'm doing. So if you want to get on Tea Time and you're an author, just have me. No, I shouldn't. You want me to talk about your book? Have me interview you. Okay. We talked about this last week, Gabe, about how I had not known about Billy O'Callahan. And I just want to make sure that this book gets into Tea Time, because everybody just needs to go out and buy this and read this. And then read his backlist, because that's what I'm going to do, because he is a fantastic writer. This is a story of 3 generations. The Martin Egan family spans about 100 years, maybe a little over 100 years, starts in the 20s with Jer's story. And this is actually Billy O'Callahan's family story. The only name that he changed was Nancy, who's the matriarch of, that's the story that happens in 1911. He had to change her name because there were so many Marys. So he just because everybody was named Mary. So anyways, other than that, it's really, I mean, and he had to, obviously it's embellished and he has to come up with conversations and things that he can't take from, so it's not a memoir, but it's as close to his family story as he could recreate. First story is Jer in the 1920s. Like I said, Nancy's story starts in 1911 when she's leaving her home. She's the only survivor of her family from the famine and the hardships that she goes through. And then Nellie, Jer's daughter, rounds out the last part from the 1980s, but she goes back to what happened to her in the 40s, 50s, I think. I mean, it tackles everything that you want. I mean, it's not a big book. It's only I don't know, a couple hundred pages. And his writing is so sparse. He's written a bunch of short stories. So I think that's why he's captured these people and their stories so succinctly, and doesn't beat you on the head with these topics, but Catholic Church, women's, what women's, the suffering that and still had no rights the same way, Gabe. It's just it's a universal topic, and it doesn't matter what country or what time period you're in, it seems like. I cannot talk highly enough about Billy O'Callahan. So I'm hoping that everybody goes out and gets that book. And if you love Irish writers and you haven't heard of him, you're going to have a new favorite Irish author to follow. So there you go. All right. Lightning round. Amanda Q.
I got this weird, awesome kids book to talk about, and it's huge. It's one of these oversized books. I think it's 15 inches high. It's called Blaze and the Castle Cake for Bertha Day, and it's translated from French. This author, Claude Ponty, is apparently a huge children's book writer. He's done over 70 kids books, but I'd never heard of him until I found this book. So the story is there's a bunch of chicks that wake up one day and realize they only have 10 days to prepare for their best friend Bertha's birthday party. So they have to get to work making this huge castle cake and getting the party ready. And it's a book where the illustrations are so strange and sort of phantasmagorical. It's a little bit unsettling, and also a lot of fun to just fall into. So kind of book you can read to a little person, and it's not just the story, you can get lost in these illustrations. And there are actually a bunch of cameos from famous people and characters. You'll see there's Betty Boop, for example.
Betty Boop.
Betty Boop.
So it's one that it kind of like the movie Shrek, where it entertains the adults as much as it entertained the little ones, because it
Yeah.
had references to things the adults know. It's that kind of book. So if you want if you're like me and you give strange books because you're the strange aunt who always gives strange things to their little relations, this is a good bet, and we have it in stock at Warwick's.
I love it. I love little strange books, but I do like that too, where it's like you get something out of it as an adult reading it and you kind of get the giggles a little bit. That's always fun. I love
Yes.
that.
Jules went muted. What's up?
She froze.
I mute myself. I said, okay, Amanda B, what you got?
All right. Woohoo. So my next one is also paperback, out tomorrow. This one is Daughter of Sparta by Claire Andrews. So I am always down for a nice retelling of a of historic, of Greek mythologies and all that. I'm totally down for that. So in this book, we have 17-year-old Daphne, and she has spent her entire life honing her skills because she is hoping to be accepted as a warrior in the Sparta society. But then she has an unexpected encounter with the goddess Artemis, who is holding Daphne's brother's fate in her hands. So she has been told that 9 mysterious items have been stolen from Mount Olympus. And if Daphne cannot find them all, then the gods' powers will just kind of go away. And then the mortal world will descend into chaos and her brother's life will be forfeited. So guided by Artemis's twin, of course, Apollo, Daphne has to take off on a journey that will take her from the labyrinth of the Minotaur to the Sphinx of Thebes. And along the way, she's going to meet some kind of cool historical figures like Hippolyta of the Amazons and Theseus. And then also she's going to be seeing gods along the way as well. So there you go, Daughter of Sparta, paperback tomorrow.
That's one
I'm
of
muted.
the,
I'm chatting away to myself. I'm just like, okay, we're 2.5 years into this and I'm still like, anyways, I love the retellings too of history. It's a good
Especially with, I like the badass girls because,
Yeah.
need more of that.
Yes. And that's one of Jimmy Patterson's books. So
It is.
his
Ooh.
imprint for young people. Yeah.
Yep. He's got,
not that I
a
want
lot
to
of-
brag or anything, but guess who's interviewing James Patterson on Monday? Okay,
Oh.
I'm just saying.
Wow. Sorry.
Dang.
Just saying.
Rubbing elbows with all them fancy people.
I got all the fancy dudes that I'm rubbing elbows with virtually, but it's just like I think it was on Friday. So Amanda, I might need you to overnight me one of his books because that thing's not out. Is that out tomorrow or is it the next week? It's out.
Which
I think
one?
it's out next week.
You gotta be more.
James Patterson. Oh, James Patterson.
Oh, his. Yeah, it's not out yet.
No. And so I was like, okay, I'll do the interview, but you gotta like overnight me a book, and I haven't gotten it yet. So I'm like, oh crap. So anywho, aside from that, Gabe, what do you got for us?
Gabe is coming on. I have to be on full screen to share. Show him. Oh, look, Billy Callahan. O'Callahan.
Oh, there he is.
Short stories, The Boatman, and My Coney Island Baby.
I want to read My Coney Island Baby.
I'll send you a copy.
Okay, I want to read that one.
During Julie's interview with him, someone commented on Facebook that The Boatman was the best short story they'd ever read in their entire life.
We didn't do it in paperback. I don't think. It was such a tough sell and we couldn't get any attention. And I don't understand why, because we did My Coney Island Baby initially, and it was I just thought it was great. It was just a fun premise. It was short, brief, and hard hitting, very Irish, even though it was set in Coney Island. And The Boatman is a really strong story. He's just a really good short story writer.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with that collection, but I'm really going to talk about The Messy Lives of Book People.
Oh, there you go. Oh, Fedra, love her.
I just thought I would take advantage of the situation.
Might as well.
My minutes. And I just love Phaedra Patrick because she is a beautiful human being. And she is just this wonderful woman who grew up on the wrong side of the tracks and always wanted to be a writer and just stuck at it. She said she had like 5 rejections, and she just like kept going. And we've met her, right? You've met her, right, Jill?
Oh yeah, no, I love her. She is so, I love her.
She's a lovely person, and her books are just these really warm, welcoming, fun, filled with fun characters and interesting characters and complicated characters, but not so much where they're annoyingly, Jonathan Safran or anything like that. They're just very. She's a heartwarming writer, and her as an individual. The Curious Charms of Arthur Pepper was the first book I read, and not the kind of thing I read, but you pick things up and you finish them for some reason, and that's what she does. And not the kind of author I thought I would read, but I always look forward to the next Phaedra Patrick book, and I have it sitting around for when I need a little mellow fix and some sweetness in my life.
Right.
And I'm always taken away. So check her out. This is out tomorrow, and something a little different. And she's got a whole backlist situation going on.
Yeah, it was the first one we met her with was the was it the Curious Arthur Pepper, right? Yeah.
She had just come out with that. I think the second book was coming.
Yeah. No, and you're right. She's lovely. And I just would keep supporting her. And yeah, absolutely. Okay. I had to go on. I know you're all seeing the comments but I had to go on my phone to see, and I see Kim, she's halfway through Blood Sugar, and loving it. That was Tom's rec. So we'll make sure to let Tom know that you're loving that book. So sorry if I missed other comments, everybody. So goes technology. But the one I want to end on is, it's not coming out till August. But you can pre-order from Warwick's and just hit the pre-order, and then it just show up on your door. When We Were Bright and Beautiful by Jillian. Is it Jillian? Jillian Meta? Okay. I was talking to Gabe a little bit in the green room about this, and it was one of those books that was on my stack, and I was just like, I just wasn't gravitating towards it for whatever reason. And I was just sort of like, and then I got a couple of notes that said from people that I trust in the industry were like, you may want to bubble that up and pick it up. So glad I did. First 3-4 pages, you're hooked on the story. It's elite, New York elite. It's the story of what privilege, and it follows this court case of a brother that's accused of raping his girlfriend, and then the sister and her story, and how this family and this dysfunction of this family plays itself out in this courtroom drama that's happening. So it's a page turner, but it's just a twisty thing that's going on. That you don't really know who's doing what and who's really guilty and not guilty. And it was so good, kept me going the whole time. And I'm one of those that, if it's not a good, it's just like, I'm like, this held up to the last page. It was very good, great writing, brings up some really interesting topics. And yeah, When We Were Bright and Beautiful. So pre-order is not coming out till I think it's August 2nd, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, it's got a pretty late in the date, late in the summer pub date.
Yeah,
August 2nd.
August 2nd, but
it's worth the wait. It's worth the wait. You could read Hunger Point, which was her first book.
Okay. In the meantime.
But she's a terrific writer, and she's a really smart writer, and she can be hilariously funny when she's doing that.
Right.
This book, I think she hits a lot of really big topics.
A lot of big topics. Yeah.
But
and like her sister was when you read like the author's notes and stuff, it's like her sister was involved as an attorney or something. So she's got like some chops behind. It's like the stuff that's in here is, some people are like, oh, white privilege, blah blah blah, but it's just like, it's really good. It's a really good peek into that world and the mentality of that world.
Right. And who do you stand by? And you believe everything, fully. It's good.
It's good. And what happens in court, and what happens to people who are accused and victims, and all of the twisty things that happen inside a courtroom on that too. And it's like, what is the truth? It was really good. So can't wait for that one. Yeah, because I've got, I think Tuesday is the deadline, Gabe, for the blurbs that I need to. So that's why it's an early read for me. So there you go. All right, everybody. That was fun. It's a holiday, but some of us like to do this on our holidays, right? On our
This
days
is my
off.
third
Tea time.
tea time on Memorial Day we do together. So
I love it. I think we need to have like,
Wow.
I think if there's like, I don't know, do we need to have like a trophy or something? We need to give Gabe a trophy for that.
a smoked sausage.
All right, everybody,
hot dog.
thanks for joining in. Great new releases. There's some events that are happening this week that are fantastic. So check out our website, and thanks for joining in. And we will see everybody next Monday. Bye.